Wait till 10 seconds. Test. And we are back with another PowerPoint. And today we're going to talk about sleep. So sleep is something I plan to touch on quite a bit on these PowerPoints as time goes on and as I start to build them up and up. And what I'm going to do is break it into separate studies and separate sections. So looking at sleep's effect on different things from performance and endurance to performance and strength to sleep's effect on ability to make decisions or ability to retain information, different things like that. So I think we're at a really good place now where everyone is aware and everyone understands the importance of sleep. And not only sleep quantity, but sleep quality as well. Thanks to all of these trackers, information out there online, and I suppose only in the last few years it's become really, really important, this emphasis on sleep. But thankfully, because of that sort of push and emphasis on it, people are really starting to put a lot of their attention into their sleep, which is great. So when I talk about sleep quantity and sleep quality, I'm talking about two separate things, obviously. So the sleep quantity, look, let's throw it into a general public and just say 6 to 8 hours would be great, somewhere in that ballpark for most. Those who have big athletic endeavors, 8 or the plus side of 8 would be no harm. Those who maybe are on a hectic schedule and can just muster the minimum amount, you'd hope they'd be getting at least their 6 hours. Again, people are aware of sleep debts as well, so DEBTS, not DEATHS, so sleep debts as well, and trying to, I suppose, catch up on the short-term impact of building up a sleep debt rather than just letting it linger on for weeks and weeks and weeks. So again, there's lots of readily information out there and it's very easy to come by. But today we're just going to break it into this one. So we're going to look at sleep and its knock-on effect to body composition and how sleep is more connected to muscle growth and fat loss than you think. So clicking onto this, the start is a bit of an obvious one. It says, who would have thought it? So sleep really was ignored for quite some time in terms of the coaching aspect. So in terms of programming and things like that and coaching, be it online or in person, people really ignored the benefits of it, and it was never really something that you would talk about with clients or dive into only in recent years, again, which is great. But as a result, the general population, even those who aren't training, everyone is pretty much aware of it. So once again, we see sleep has this incredible knock-on effect, which I will show you. I'm going to use studies to show you. And you can pick almost any aspect of health, fitness or life, and you can bring it back to sleep. From resting heart rate, blood pressure, energy levels, appetite, performance in sport, cognitive ability, etc. The list does go on. So the knock-on effects sleep has does go on. And again, this is something we will touch on. But today we're going to talk through the topic of sleep quantity and body composition. So when we talk about body composition, we're looking at free fat mass, muscle mass, body fat fluctuations, things like that. So today, there wasn't in these two studies, there wasn't a huge emphasis, or I didn't see much of an emphasis on sleep quality. It was more so to do with quantity alone, which says enough in itself that quantity alone can be a big thing. So the first study, oh God, pronouncing these never get easier. So I think this is Neville Chapa, I don't know how it's pronounced. But anyway, Nedelcheva's paper in 2010 called Insufficient Sleep Undermines Dietary Efforts to Reduce Adiposity. This study took 10 overweight non-smoking adults, 3 women, 7 men, and viewed them for over a 14-day window with calorie restrictions in place and a 5.5 to 8.5 hour sleep schedule. So again, that was the window they had of sleep. They found that when comparing the 5.5 to the 8.5 hours of sleep, the decrease in fat mass was 55% when compared the 5.5 to the 8.5. It was 55% lower, and the 8.5 hour group had less loss of muscle mass as well. So the way they worded it was the decrease in fat mass was 55% lower than the 8.5 hour group, and the loss of muscle mass was 60% higher than the 8.5 hour group. So if that's confusing for you, those who slept 5.5 hours or those who were on that scale, they had 55% less fat loss than those who slept their 8.5 hours. On the same hand as well, those who slept less, their loss of muscle mass was 60% higher than the 8.5 hour group. So again, they were losing quite a lot of the 8.5 hour group were losing quite a lot of fat and maintaining the muscle, whereas the group who were sleeping a lot less tended to lose more muscle, quite a high percent. I mean, 60% is quite high, and their fat mass as well was much worse off than those who were getting more sleep. So this result just showed that sleep alone had a huge sway in results. I mean, you're not even looking at sleep quality there. The details on calories were limited, but again, what it kind of looked at was just correlating the sleep toward their results. So there probably is a few other factors in that paper. There's a lot more information to divulge in the paper. I just thought this was the simplest way to break it down, giving you the key points. The next study is the one that was probably a little bit more impressive. So it's a more recent study. Again, pronunciation, Zwin Wang, maybe. So Wang's paper in 2018 looked at the influence of sleep restriction, weight loss outcomes associated with caloric restrictions, which was interesting also, as it pretty much confirmed the previous study we looked at, but even at more extremes. So this took overweight adults and put them on an 8-week calorie restricted regimen and split into 2 groups. So one group slept the normal amount of hours and one group were sleeping 1 hour less 5 nights a week. So the findings showed that sleeping just 1 hour less 5 times a week, they went Monday to Friday, during a diet resulted in 15% loss of fat mass and 85% loss of muscle mass when compared to those who got the extra hour. So again, 15% loss of fat mass when compared and 85% loss of muscle mass when compared. And that's only an hour in the difference over 5 weeks, over an 8-week period. Those who got the extra hour, it was nearly exact opposites. They resulted in 80% loss of fat mass and only 18% loss of muscle mass. So it was nearly flipped on its head. Again, just showing that just 1 extra hour 5 nights a week over 8 weeks made a big difference. But what was really interesting, and I brought it up earlier, was the sleep debt. People building up their sleep debt. So having a few bad nights sleep and then trying to, I suppose, catch up or negate the negative effects of that at the weekend. So what was interesting is the group who slept an hour less 5 days a week, they were given the freedom to sleep ad libitum, is the term they used, just meaning they could sleep as desired or as needed. They were given the freedom to sleep ad libitum on the 2 nights at the weekend. So let's say they were sleeping 5 hours a week and the other crew were sleeping 6 hours a week. That crew who were sleeping 6 hours a night, not a week. That crew who was sleeping 5 hours a night come Friday night and Saturday night, or maybe it was Saturday night and Sunday night, one of the two, they could have slept 8, 9, 10 hours. They could sleep whatever they want on those. So what was interesting about that study is that it gave them a little bit of freedom and just took away the 1 hour Monday to Friday, or took out the 1 hour away 5 nights a week, which was very interesting. So it just shows the huge effect that it did have. So there's a lot to consider there. The main thing is sleep is important. We can see that now. We understand that now. Anyone will tell you that. But when you put it into data like that, and I know the first study back in 2010, look, it was a 2-week period. It was 10 people, but it still was pretty conclusive. If it was thrown out numbers with smaller percentages, like the difference of 55 and 60% are huge, probably too huge to ignore, that I would see that as a very valuable and viable study. The next one, of course, look, it's over 8 weeks, and you can see they're even more extreme, which just kind of confirms the extreme numbers you saw in the 2-week period. I mean, if they're getting more extreme at those ends of the spectrum, then they probably are related, the 2 experiments or 2 studies. So that's all. Main thing is that sleep is very important for your gains. If you are on a weight loss phase, you can see that sleep is important. If you are on a muscle gaining phase, sleep is important. Basically, it's important no matter what you're going through or what phase you're on. Oh, yeah. And any questions, the easiest way to find me is on Instagram at Complex Fitness.